Hey guys, thank you for joining us in today's webinar. And we have, while I'm welcoming all of you, I also want to welcome Prasadh over here. He's standing in for Kamal today.
Thanks.
Kamal had an exigency, a personal exigency, and couldn't make it. So I think it's going to be a fun conversation.
Prasadh. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. Hi there to the audience. My first time on air. I'm sure it's a new experience for you to have a different partner on the webinar, Anil.
Right. So Prasadh, let me ask you this, and please tell me this is your dream job, right?
What you're currently doing? You mean filling in for my boss?
Yeah. No, I mean your current job.
Definitely, yes. I guess at my current stage in career, Anil, I think drives and aspirations are what I look for. So I think it's definitely in tune with what I want to do. So it's emerging to be my favorite job. I'm not sure whether it's the best job yet. So I would love to wait for a couple of more years to answer that question.
A little disappointed, Prasadh, I would like, but I'll take that. It's your favorite job at least. So Prasadh, let's get going. When you think of your best job, you always think about a few things. And what comes to my mind is that, you're good at it. You like what you're doing. You're working with your right leader, manager. And then you have some good friends at work. This is what strikes me as my best job. What do you think?
Definitely, I think those combinations of factors that make you spring up in bed and make it to work in the morning. I think all these are definitely there, and a good mix of these definitely make you declare something as a best job or a great job as it would deem fit. Mm-hmm. But I think looking at more from a journey point, Anil, the last 2 decades of my own career, I think there's always been a different definition at each stage of my career as to what does a best job comprise. I think when I started basics about as long as it can put food on my plate, I think that was the best job for me.
Yeah.
Then going on to what is my contribution to the organization, talking about do I actually belong to the organization, that defined whether it's a best job. And I think there also came a point where growth defined whether the job that I'm doing is the best job that I'm engaged in. So definitely, I think the definition of best job kept evolving all through my years of experience.
So it appears to me almost like a Maslow's model of hierarchy of needs.
Indeed, I think your basic needs get satisfied first, and then self-actualization at the top of the pyramid.
Right.
Definitely, I think that's a move. But bottom line, I think as long as there's an opportunity to grow, it has always been a great job for me personally.
I also get that the best job when you're 20 is different, when you're 30 it's different, when you're 40 it's different. So I can relate to that, sure. Yeah, I mean, when you're looking about a job Prasadh, I mean, you would obviously like, more ticks in terms of the aspects that are important to you. So that would determine what your best job would be for you. And we looked up a study of Gallup and put out these buckets very articulately. So they spoke about career well-being, social, this includes family, financial well-being, and so on. And the ticks that you need to have are predominantly, is the company's culture good? Do they have a purpose? Are your management and seniors good? Do you have, it's in a great location and so on? And the rewards and benefits are good. So obviously there is nothing called a perfect job in my dictionary.
True.
And, there are some, negatives as well. There are some boxes that you can't tick in all the jobs.
Yeah.
But as long as the positives over with the negatives, then that is your best job, I presume.
Definitely. And I think it's more the merrier when it comes to the more ticks I can place against these factors. I guess I'm moving closer to being in a best job as it seems to be.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree. It's all about the well-being eventually.
Yeah. And we looked up another interesting study put up by LinkedIn, and they surveyed candidates who had left their jobs and the reasons they gave. And probably these are questions that are anyway asked during exit interviews. Those questions versus their decisions to join the next job, when they landed the next job, were they really in line? Were they coherent? That is the real question. And what we found is that from this report is that we found that except for 1 or 2 reasons, what they stated during their exit were only matching with their future job, the next job that they got into. And one such is your career advancement opportunity. Everybody said that we're leaving the current job for career advancement. And that's the most important reason they chose the next job as well. But there were many other factors like, am I working with the right leader? Is the culture great? These questions were not answered when they made the call on the next job. that's a little, baffling in a way. There's a bit of a paradox in it.
Yeah, the mismatch of reasons why you leave a job versus why you pick up a job.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think people are definitely looking at different drives in both of these decision points. Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the things I see topmost in the criteria why they chose the next job also appears to be compensation benefits. And I'm beginning to question whether that is really important for candidates. Career progression is important, but the next important thing is the compensation benefits.
Definitely.
So I can relate to an incident where an ex-colleague of mine, he called me up one day and he was lamenting about his boss's behavior. He was saying that I have an abusive boss, but he said something interesting. He said, if not for my compensation, I would probably not be in this job. And then that took me surprised a little bit, because I thought that bad boss anyway is a good reason for him to leave.
Okay.
But he was saying that I have a trade-off. I have a good compensation, and at least for a little while I can tolerate a bad boss or a bad culture.
Yeah, a bad boss who pays well goes fine as a combination.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. So see, once I think the decision to move on is a huge decision that people tend to process at some stage, and there, in fact, an observation that roughly there are about 8 days in a year that people think of quitting the current job that they are on.
Right.
One of the old studies that I keep referring to.
Yeah.
But once the decision is made, a whole genre of pathways open up, Anil, where I think the pathways that people could take to get to their next job is about either go the brute force model, where just carpet bomb yourself and say that I'm looking out for job. In fact, I've been seeing a few posts on LinkedIn where people have been saying I'm looking out, kind of a thing, as a status itself.
Yeah.
That versus a smart move model, where people who've taken the time out and who've been proactive in their planning, they do a very subtle marketing of their own skills and then take it up at the right point in time.
Yeah.
These two are the most commonly used thing, and I think the brute force is more reactive in nature. That when people have been pushed up the wall, they tend to go the brute force model.
Right.
People who are a little more well planned go the smart move. There is also a very interesting third angle to it, third genre of people who, a lot of them that I know personally as well, who tend to recalibrate. Say, I don't have to move out from my current job.
Yeah.
Can I make my current job a best job by itself? Where it means either by applying for your internal job postings or negotiating for a new post or a new role or whatever. I think that bunch of people also, Anil, is a very interesting lot who say, why move? Where I could actually make my current job into my best job. So these three as genres of pathway are definitely in play when we see it out there in the talent space.
Yeah, I've known quite a lot of people, Prasad, who look at their current opportunities, who really talk to their current management leaders, and they carve out a career and an opportunity for themselves. So I do see a lot of people in that phase. But the brute force aspect that you spoke about, obviously that's not, that's a reactive way. And it's very unlikely you will land a dream job when you're in a reactive mode. And probably you had a bad day, you had a bad review, you had an altercation with somebody in your company. Those are the triggers, and obviously you're not well positioned to find a good, the best job for you in that mindset.
Yeah.
So that's a reactive one. But then I see that the people who are more, on a planning sort of a mode, they create a long-term opportunity for themselves. So they really, I see those as passive job seekers as they use. And I think that's a good way I look at it.
Definitely.
Yeah. So we've laid out an approach for people who want to really carve out, best job scenario for themselves. And we see this in 4 stages, and we look at it as sequential. One is you do a research, you try to find out the market and the opportunities that exist for you and against your skill. Then you connect with those individuals. It could be somebody in your maybe ex-colleagues, somebody in your social circle, and so on. And you engage with them. You try to explore and have conversations about, how to really execute your, move. And then throughout the process, you're evaluating whether what angle is playing out better for you, which connects are playing out better for you, who's more responsive, and so on.
Yeah, and you can always repeat the process if required based on the output of the evaluation.
Yeah,
is there also a need for a tag along, or is there someone who should guide you through this process, Anil?
Yeah, I've noticed that probably you're much more objective when you have a mentor, when you're talking to somebody, and they can offer you a perspective which may not be available otherwise. So I do think that mentor plays an important role. Either it be a mentor or a friend or a confidant. any of this would work.
As long as there's someone who could evaluate your moves and give a feedback.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, talking about methods, I think the first thing is about the ecosystem that you get into when you make these pathway decisions.
Yeah.
Very clearly, there's a digital ecosystem that you have to play with, be a part of, create your footprint in that space.
Yeah.
Of course, LinkedIn, Twitter, and blogs have been a huge space determinants there. The job boards also, in a way, come into play, but not necessarily that every job seeker has to be in a job board. But it's not mandatory that you have to be there.
Yeah.
Personally, a lot of people who made their entire career without even creating their first account on any of the job boards.
Right.
The offline system is equally important, if not more, Anil, where people tend to not value this at times, where ex-colleagues are definitely important, ex-bosses that you work with, people who know you, the way that you work, and being part of industry bodies, and more so, also if you look at clients who've seen your service, the way that you operate, the way you service them, are definitely great, people to be in touch with during this journey.
Right.
And also, of course, if you know a few headhunters that you can, be in touch with, I think that's definitely the offline ecosystem that cannot be denied.
Yeah, I mean, the online actually helps you multiply your connect, your reach out. And I would say offline is really important, but online really helps you multiply the effect.
Definitely.
So it helps you build your larger network. And we all know your network is your net worth. Prasadh. I mean, that's really what matters. And I'm sure you've landed many jobs through your network.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, the way that I'm just going to bring that up is all through my career, all my moves have been with references from people who experience my own work and who always put me on to the next job, either in a past job or as a client or as peers and colleagues. They've always been a reference-based move that I've made personally.
Right. Yeah. So, we're going to specifics over here about what to really execute. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is the hard work that somebody has to put in, which is really preparing a long list of companies that you want to aspire. And some people go to an extent. I mean, I met a person in a seminar, and when she learned that I'm a headhunter, she said, "Can you find me a job in Apple?" And I said, "Why particularly Apple?" I mean, she liked Apple products and the company, and she had heard about them. So I asked, "Is there something about Apple as a company and their characteristics that you want, or you want only a job in Apple?" So sometimes you need to decipher this expectations of people. I mean, sometimes not just about one company, but something about that company that may be interesting. So you prepare a long list. You reach out to business leaders in those companies. You use a network of your bosses and your peers to get to know somebody there. You make a pitch, you make a quality pitch, you make a well thought of pitch, and then you go and reach out to these people. Then it's great if you can meet a lot of people in this process, because digital connect and digital footprint is great, but it leaves you only to a certain extent. What matters more and how a recall happens is when you meet actually people, either in a forum or an industry event, or through your through some references. You actually meet people. That helps you a long way. And then obviously, we spoke about this, there may be some contacts who may be more responsive to you. So you warm up to them more, you engage them more, you interact with them more. And then of course, mentors, guide you through the process.
Well, true. Yeah. And given a choice, whether it's brute force or smart move, the point is that not to be too much on the face. People know that you have an agenda, but don't carry your agenda all the time. We've had some experience, at least I've had some experience, where it almost gets into the space of literally stalking someone, right?
Yeah.
Being there on the wall, liking pretty much everything that they're saying in the social media. I know one can see through those genuine follow-ups versus, the
more subtle,
more, the conscious versus unconscious kind of stuff. So I think it's very important to also not carry it always on your face.
Right. So, there are two ways to look at it, Prasadh. When you look at how often should I do this? Yeah, it depends on your personal situation. But then we are looking at it as two distinct ways to approach, your best job, dream job, whatever you call it. One is to create a habit out of doing those steps regularly and more frequently and consistently. And the other one is looking at it as a hack. Obviously, a hack is only when you're desperate, or when you're being laid off, maybe. And we have a separate conversation on that, another webinar, but we're not going into it. But then obviously the more preferred one is a habit, because that's long-term. Of course, it requires you to have more time. It's long-term investment.
Yeah.
versus something which you do as a quick fix.
Definitely.
So we would always recommend people to do
that as a
get into habit mode.
So yeah, and I think taking it as a habit, definitely your move to the next best job has already begun. That's something that you carry with you every day. The people that you talk to, the way that you work, they definitely lead you to the next best job that way. So
yeah,
as against being on a hack mode.
Yeah, just conclude by saying that there is no silver bullet in this. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of persistence, and all these steps can lead you to your best job.
Yeah, at that note, there are a few questions that have come to me, interesting questions that came up. Let's take up a few of these.
Sure.
There's one question about an engineer who's in a pure blood engineering stream wants to make a shift into digital marketing.
Yeah.
Please advise, as it's a new domain shift as it seems to be.
Yeah.
My own personal experience, Anil, is it goes back to the RR that we spoke about, the research and reach out.
Yeah.
The gentleman has to make a lot of research at this point in time, especially if they have already started their career. It's important that the maximum amount of data and information validation happens at this point in time.
Yeah.
Shift is not easy, but definitely if it's powered by a lot of research and reach out attempts, and of course, evaluating the same with a mentor.
Yeah.
I think shift can definitely be done if there's a passion to do it.
Yeah. I would even recommend, Prasad, that this individual does a short-term course in digital marketing, and see if that really leads this individual to the next job. Another thing which one could do drastically if the person is not too much into the career, is just very early in their career, is to think of an MBA. A lot of people have made shifts once they've done their MBA and they get into more functional roles, marketing, finance, HR, those kind of roles as a product marketing and so on.
Yeah.
So I think an engineer can make this transition.
Yeah, if they're powered by the data behind. Yeah.
Correct.
Can I improve my social media selling to reach out to top companies? Very often asked question, but can I have an active social media profile? Will I get the attention of the Apples of the world?
Yeah, it is possible, but again, it's a lot of hard work. And as we mentioned, it's your consistency that gives you the dividends that you're looking for. Social media branding is very important. For individuals as well as companies. So you can start by having a nice LinkedIn profile to begin with. LinkedIn matters a lot. You can't ignore LinkedIn today. So you start with LinkedIn, and then you start by tagging certain articles of your interest. And then if you can write blogs, it's even better. That's the way you create your brand.
Definitely. How to check which among my sources will be the most helpful in a job search? Who would be the best? How do you pick the one?
Yeah, I think we just alluded to it. There is no silver bullet. There are multiple channels that you may need to reach out to. And one or two may pay you rich dividends. So unfortunately, there is nothing that you can do, a single person who can help you, not even good identifiers.
Yeah. So we'll have to wait and watch on that.
Yeah.
Can organizations create an environment where an employee seeking career move can actually be open and transparent?
Well, organizations are not there to facilitate people's career moves.
I only wish.
Right? So, at an individual level, your senior or your boss may be able to facilitate certain, aspects of your career move. But then, this is something which you can't expect from a company.
Yeah, but as individuals, bosses could actually be, promoters of your talent once they're convinced about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. How do I find the right guru to lead my career path?
Yeah, again, this is an individual discovery and a search. It's not something which one can respond in a straightforward way. You would know a lot of people in your professional circle or your social circle. And when you meet somebody whom you are inspired by, you can ask if they would be available to mentor you or guide you. And if they do, then you have found a mentor. And it's not something that, you don't need to think about, am I going to have a mentor for the next 15, 20 years? It can be like, okay, I'm going to have a conversation for the next 2 to 3 years. Yeah. Can this person move me from point A to point B? Yeah. I think that's possible. But again, it's not something which you can stumble up. You may, if you're lucky, you may stumble upon somebody like that.
Yeah, who could journey with you for the rest of career.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
So we come to the end of this webinar. So I hope we've answered some of your questions and concerns that you may have about a job change. Yeah, we don't necessarily think of any of this as a silver bullet, but it's a process, it's a journey. And we hope you do, take some inputs and help yourselves. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you all.